My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
This was me after I played the Natlan update. Yeah, this is going to be one of those videos where I talk about something others aren't talking about because they are either afraid of the community backlash or are too delusional. I'm a small creator, so it doesn't matter to me anyway. I'll just say whatever I feel like has to be said. I was expecting a lot out of Natlan. Some may say I felt disappointed because my expectations were too high, which to some extent might be true. But if you had experienced such peak storytelling in Sumeru and Fontaine, you'd also have certain expectations with the new region, right? I think Hoyoverse screwed up big time with Natlan. Player numbers in Genshin have been stagnating, and huge spikes of players that you see every time after a new region drop, it just didn't happen this time. And I can understand why. Natlan feels like a half-baked, under-delivered promise. It's a region that has been hyped up ever since 1.0, with people speculating all sorts of things like Bennett being the real Pyro Archon from Natlan. It's safe to say when people actually got to see Natlan and realized it's a nation full of dancing clowns, it must have hurt. At least it did to me. I was expecting much more serious storytelling and lore drop. A nation of war with warriors and legends, characters with strong personalities and backgrounds. But what we got were goofy characters that would better suit Mondstadt, the nation of freedom, than Natlan, the nation of war. When I first stepped into Natlan, I was excited. It's a new region, new mechanics, new enemies. You know, the dopamine kicks in whenever you see new shiny stuff. But that very quickly died out, and within a week of exploring, I felt very bored. As I explored more of Natlan, I realized in terms of diversity, this region really didn't have much to offer. It's just cliff after cliff of the same thing over and over again. The people of the Springs base camp felt a little different because all the waterways around it, but they didn't really capitalize on that either. They just put a bunch of those water saurian things and called it a day. There was a lot of water in Fontaine too, so they added boats, underwater exploration. This time though, there was nothing, just empty pools with a bunch of enemies. The rest of the tribes didn't have anything spectacular to show either. The Ochka Natlan region also didn't change anything too much. Cliff after cliff of the same thing again and again and again. Now, do I hate cliffs? Not really. Leeway has a bunch of cliffs, but the cliffs don't feel empty. Every cliff has a unique hidden treasures at the top or some sort of unique architecture or flora that makes each peak interesting and pretty. Natlan though, you climb on a flat peak just to see that there are a few flowers to collect, and that's it. There was a distinct lack of the regional architecture, ruins that distinguish one area from another. Compared to the size of the region, Natlan was just too empty and looked bare. Then they added Saurians. At first I was happy that they added a new and unique traversal way, but soon realized how big of a hassle they are. They added zip points way back in Sumeru where you could like Spider-Man swing from one place to another. They continued that trend in Fontaine as well. They added the same thing in Natlan, only now suddenly you have to transform into a green chicken to do that. Why? Traveler could always zip before without turning into a green chicken, so why now do I suddenly have to go through this extra hassle? And I honestly wouldn't mind exploring as Mr. Green Chicken if bro wasn't slow as fuck. You can sprint with this guy and he runs slower than a snail. You're better off running normally than running as a Saurian. Not to mention when you actually need these Saurians for a puzzle or traversal, there are nowhere to be found. Gotta run 2 kilometers down the hill to get that Saurian transformation, then run all the way back up to complete that puzzle. Also, who in the right mind thought about making your traversal mechanism attack you? Like, Saurians will attack you when they see you. Imagine the next time you try to put up your glider, it starts throwing punches at you. I think Hoyo themselves realized that the Saurian system was failure because every single character they released in Natlan after that had some sort of travel mechanic. Almost as if Hoyo knew no one in the right mind is going to run around as a green chicken in the map. And so that brings me to the third point. What are these character designs? Roller skates, surfboards, bikes. Don't give me that Shilonen made them for everyone with ancient technology shit, okay? Does Natlan even look technologically advanced to you? Look at the tribe camps, the enemy camps, the ruins. They look like something ancient humans would build with 2 twigs. These guys are literally living in bamboo huts, and you want me to believe that this nation is technologically advanced enough to make a bike? Guys, we haven't even seen horses in the game and we have a chivalry captain. That in itself was bad. It's almost as if to add insult to injury, they made a bike. And if I saw this in Fontaine where there are mechanical robots patrolling the street, steampunk machines all over the city, ruins with intricate machinery, I wouldn't have complained. Literally nothing in Natlan seems technology. Everything seems primitive. No wonder people were annoyed with the designs, and they look so out of place in a primitive setting like Natlan. Just straight up bad character designs. The story also failed to leave a strong impression as Fontaine or Sumeru. I had high expectations from Captain. After all, he's the number one Fatui Harbinger, and top 3 Harbingers are supposed to possess Archon levels of strength. But they showed him really weak in the story. Even though he was directly involved in the Natlan war against the Abyss, they didn't showcase him fighting that much, and his impact on war seemed very underwhelming. He only got a few cameos here and there. If the number one Fatui Harbinger actually fought against the Abyss with all his strength, I'm sure we would not have seen such losses in Natlan. But they decided to suppress him, and he played a rather insignificant role. His only contribution was probably that because of him, Mauvika didn't have to die in the end of the story, but that's about it. Also, just like typical Genshin fashion, they rendered Mauvika useless in the fight because the sacred film went out and she had to stay back to keep it up. Of course, they will never allow the Archon to fight in their own nation, right? Just cannot happen. The Archon will always have to be sitting duck, giving orders. It's illegal for them to fight for their nation. Because the Traveler, after all, he's just gonna slave around doing the Archon's bidding anyway. And this has honestly become too repetitive. Why are you even hyping up the Archons and Fatui Harbingers if you're not even going to make them fight in the story? Half of my excitement about Natlan was to see the Archon of the Nation of War in action and how strong the first Harbinger is. All went down the gutter. Heck, I'd say Kachina had more contribution to the Natlan War than the Archon of Natlan itself or Captain. I guess everyone who played Fontaine remembers the trauma of when Navia lost her 2 companions. 2 deaths, just 2 sad NPCs died. And that made the whole community sad. Every time I see Navia, I feel sorry for her loss. Same for Furina, the amount of sacrifice she had to go through is just incredible. Remind me how many people died in that land? In the thousands? Does anybody care? No. Chaska lost her sister. She was a pretty important NPC, but everybody hated on Chaska so much, nobody cared about that stuff. How bad does your story writing have to be that thousands of people die and nobody gives a fuck about it? It baffles me to think that the same story writers who wrote about Kazuha's brother, Furina's sacrifice, Rukadevada dying, the Salt God, these masterpieces, these same guys wrote the Natlan Archon quest. So far, this is probably one of the worst Archon quests we have got in the game, and they kept shoving Mauvika down everyone's throats, as if their intention was to increase sales on her banner, just weren't clear. All in all, I am highly disappointed with the Natlan update. I have high expectations from Genshin, and I don't think the expectations are misplaced. They have done it before and they have the resources to do it again. So why should we settle for lackluster updates? I feel like over time, Hoyoverse has shifted more focus to their other games, Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero, and forgot about Genshin, the game that made them who they are right now. The events they added in Natlan were also boring, repetitive events in an attempt to fill up the dry patches. I don't hate Genshin, I love the game and I love the universe they have created, which is why I don't want to see it go down. If Hoyoverse keeps ignoring Genshin like this, it's only a matter of time before Genshin loses its popularity, especially when competing against games like Wuthering Waves, which are trying their best to gain players, putting out excellent story and listening to player complaints, something which Genshin rarely does. Let's hope whoever takes Nezhnaya more seriously. They have been hyping up the Saritza since the beginning of the game, and they better not disappoint with another lackluster story and poor region design. All in all, this was my opinion on Natlan. I know many of you guys won't agree with my opinions, which is fine because it's my personal opinion anyway. You are free to share yours in the comments. But I felt it necessary to call out Genshin over this because most creators on social media dare not speak anything against the game. They're too afraid of the backlash. Well, I'm a small creator, so it doesn't matter to me anyway. I just say what I want to say. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more such videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.